Good morning. We're accustomed to seeing Israel as a strong country capable of defending itself, kind of a Goliath in the Middle East. But it really isn't a Goliath. It's still a little bitty David. Israel's population is only 7.5 million people. Population of the Arab world around it is 200 million. Israel's economy is a GDP of about 300 billion, next to the trillions of the oil wealth in the various Arab countries. Israel hangs on to its existence by the skin of its teeth. It's hanging on by its fingernails to a narrow little perch there on the Mediterranean Sea. So when Barack Obama asks Israel to go back to its pre-1967 borders, you're talking about totally indefensible borders. In the north, the Golan Heights, with its commanding presence, from which you can rain artillery shells down on any city in northern Israel, would go back to Syria. And the waistline, the border in the middle of Israel, would be 9 miles wide. 9 miles. You can walk it in 3 hours. You can jog it in, 10 minutes? Maybe an hour? I don't jog that much. The point is that Israel's borders would be totally indefensible. And Obama's assumption, which is that somehow if Israel gives up real estate and puts itself in an indefensible position, like a dog rolling over on its back, that all of a sudden the Arabs will become peace-loving and they won't attack Israel and their territorial demands will be satiated. Well, the last guy that thought that way was Chamberlain at Munich, where he said if only Germany got Austria and Czechoslovakia, it would have no more territorial demands in Europe. And we know how that worked out. You can't assume that the Arabs would be satisfied by land for peace. Yeah, they'd be satisfied if the land was the entire country of Israel and was wiped out, and 6 million Jews were pushed into the Mediterranean Sea. Then, of course, the war would go away. They would take to fighting each other instead of fighting Israel. But short of that, there's no gift of land that's going to appease the Arabs. Now, this was hypothetical. This was something that we all supposed, until Sharon, the Prime Minister of Israel, gave back Gaza to the Palestinians, the Gaza Strip located right there on the Mediterranean. Well, no sooner did the Israeli troops evacuate it and drag the settlers out of it than the Hamas and the Arabs set up rocket launchers there and bombarded all of the Israeli cities. We gave them land and they didn't use it for peace. They used it as a base for additional war. And that's what would happen in this situation. The only difference is that Israel would have traded away its ability to defend itself. The Palestinians call this the right of return, that after, 60 years, they should be able to come back and reclaim the land that the Israelis have taken from a desert and made into a blooming, modern, post-industrial nation, and that the Arabs should be able to come back and reclaim all of that land. You might as well, give all of Oklahoma to the Sioux Indians under that theory. The fact of the matter is that Israel can only maintain its security by means of protecting its security militarily. Defensible borders, adequate forces, and a willingness to negotiate with the Palestinians, but not to negotiate Israel out of existence. Because after all, look, Palestine is a very viable state even under the old borders. You have to make some compromises on the settlements, but they could set up a Palestinian state. The reason they don't is that if they settle for a Palestinian state of anything short of the extermination of Israel, the Palestinian militants will make their lives miserable and the governments will be overthrown. That's why Arafat didn't sign a peace treaty with Clinton at the end of the Clinton administration in 1999. They had cut a deal that satisfied the leadership of both Israel and the Palestinians, but the Palestinian militants would not have accepted it, and Arafat would have been killed if he had attempted to do that. So let's abandon any of these Obama fantasies that somehow or other, if Israel gives up enough and surrenders enough and makes itself vulnerable enough, peace will break out all over the Middle East. That's a bargain no Israeli prime minister should accept, no American should accept, and nobody should expect Israel to agree to. Thanks very much, and have a nice breakfast.